The New York Yankees have retired the most numbers in baseball. It's a bit of a running joke at this point. Now, I don't think we'll actually be seeing a Yankee in triple digits anytime soon. They've retired 22 of the first 51 available numbers. Not counting 0, there are just 29 choices available under 50, none of which are single digits. With a 26-man roster, coaching staff, and injured players, that leaves most incoming players without a good number to choose from. I'm a Yankees fan, and I understand that we have a rich history of legends who deserve to be honored, and I agree with the majority of the selections, but the lack of defined criteria has led to a few questionable choices, and the Yankees don't have numbers to spare at this point. I'm here to conduct an audit of the Yankees' retired numbers. I've categorized each pick into one of 4 categories: undisputable, good but disputable, questionable, and flat out bad. I'll go player by player, quickly summarizing their accomplishments and why I think they should or shouldn't have their number retired. I'll start with the undisputable players and present my more intricate thoughts as we approach the more fringe cases. To be in this category, you need to have spent your best seasons in the Bronx and be in the Hall of Fame, with a couple of historically significant exceptions. These guys are all 100% undisputable selections in my eyes, and if you want to argue with me in the comments about any of them, just know that you're wrong.
Now batting for the Yankees, number 2, Derek Jeter. Number 2.
He is Mr. November. It is gone.
Ball hit on the ground to deep short. Jeter fields. Snap throws to first. In time. Oh, what a play by Jeter.
Jeter on the run. Makes a one-handed running catch. Derek Jeter, what a player. He's a flat-out winner.
Despite his defensive run saved, Derek Jeter is a 5-time champion, longtime captain, inner circle Hall of Famer, and lifetime Yankee. He was the face of the entire league for over a decade. There's not a serious argument against retiring his number, no matter how overrated the internet might tell you he is now. It doesn't get much easier than this. Babe Ruth was the undisputed greatest baseball player ever when he retired. He completely changed how the sport was played, and he was the biggest celebrity athlete of the early 20th century. I'd argue that his number 3 was the first iconic number in all of sports. The Yankees and Indians standardized the practice of numbering uniforms in 1929. It had been tried before, but it never stuck until that season, and I suspect that it only worked this time because the numbers became associated with the legendary players of the Yankees. Without the Bambino's 3, we might not have TB12, 42, or 23. One of the greatest ball players of all time, Lou Gehrig's number being retired might be the most obvious on this list. Not only was he nearly as good as the great Bambino, but he was also the team's leader in the clubhouse and their captain. This selection is compounded by the fact that his number retirement is probably the most iconic ever.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Toronto Maple Leaf Ace Bailey was the first pro athlete to have his number retired in 1934. 5 years later, the Yankees and Gehrig brought the practice to MLB, removing the Iron Horse's number 4 from circulation when he was forced into an early retirement with ALS. Joe D was a 3-time MVP, 9-time World Series champ, and easy Hall of Famer despite missing 3 full prime seasons serving in World War II. He also got Marilyn Monroe before JFK could. Obvious pick. Mickey Mantle is one of the best center fielders and baseball players ever. He also won 3 MVPs as well as 7 World Series titles, and his playoff stats are much better than DiMaggio's. DiMaggio was Mantle's predecessor in center field, so it's only fitting that they presented each other with plaques on Mickey Mantle Day in 1969.
Joe gave me a plaque that they're going to hang on the center field wall, and certainly if they give me one, his has got to be hanging just a little bit higher than mine.
2 of the greatest center fielders ever to play the game, back-to-back beloved Yankees legends. I don't think anyone will question this pick either. If Bill Dickey and Yogi Berra wore 2 different numbers, they'd each be deserving of retirement on their own. Everyone knows who Yogi Berra is, and he's like the coolest guy ever. Berra was a machine gunner during the D-Day invasion of Normandy, won 13 World Series titles, and won 3 MVP awards. It ain't over till it's over. It's deja vu all over again. It's getting late early, are just a few legendary Yogiisms.
You know, a lot of people try to say Yogiism. I don't even know I say it myself. I really don't.
but most people don't know about Bill Dickey. Dickey was an 11-time All-Star, 8-time World Series champ, Hall of Fame catcher, and Yogi's mentor. He wore number 8 first, and once Berra took over as the Yankees starting catcher, Dickey bestowed the number upon his prodigy. They had a joint number retirement ceremony in 1972, after Berra was elected to the Hall of Fame. Phil Rizzuto is the first player I've covered who isn't a slam dunk Hall of Famer. He only got in on the Veterans Committee in 1994, thanks in part to being close friends with many of the electorate. I don't really think he deserves to be in the Hall. He won one MVP award and he lost out on 3 prime seasons due to the war, but he was far from the most important player on those 40s and 50s Yankees teams. Rizzuto's playoff numbers are also significantly worse than his regular season performance, so even though he has 7 rings, they weren't exactly because of him. So why, you may ask, is Rizzuto in this category? He retired as a player after the 1956 season, but for the next 40 years, Phil Rizzuto was the voice of the New York Yankees. His plaque in Monument Park cites his 2 legendary careers, star shortstop and legendary broadcaster. Rizzuto is a massive piece of Yankees history beyond his playing days, and he called many of the biggest moments for the other names on this list. I don't think any Yankee fan takes issue with honoring Rizzuto in this way. Thurman Munson is the first player in this section of the list who isn't in the Hall of Fame. He won Rookie of the Year in 1970 and MVP in 1976, and he was also the Yankees captain for the last 4 years of his career. Munson was the leader and second best player on the Yankees' 1977 and 1978 World Series champion teams, and the 1977 title might be the most important in Yankees history. Munson notably stepped up his performance in the postseason, hitting over .350 with an .874 OPS in October. He probably would have made the Hall if he were able to finish out his career, but on August 2nd, 1979, his career and his life were tragically cut short.
Well, some devastating news has just moved on the AP wire that Thurman Munson, the Yankee catcher, has been killed in a private aircraft crash near Canton, Ohio.
The Yankees captain passed away at age 32. The team retired his number the very next day in a pregame ceremony. Thurman Munson was a true leader during what were probably the most turbulent seasons in Yankees history. Between drama with George Steinbrenner, Reggie Jackson, Billy Martin, and the media, Munson steered the ship to consecutive World Series titles. He's an understated character in the grand scheme of Yankees legends, and he'd probably prefer it that way, but that doesn't make him any less important. Whitey Ford is still the Yankees' all-time leader in pitching wins, innings pitched, shutouts, starting pitcher WAR, and starting pitching ERA+. He retired as the Yankees' strikeout leader, won a Cy Young Award, and won the 1961 World Series MVP. Among starters with at least 1,000 innings pitched in the live ball era, the chairman of the board has the 3rd lowest ERA, behind only Clayton Kershaw and Jacob deGrom. He is far and away the greatest Yankees starting pitcher of all time, and his regular and postseason contributions are more than deserving of a number retirement. Elston Howard is the second non-Hall of Famer in this tier, but his significance to the Yankees goes far beyond his stat accumulation. Howard was the first black player in Yankees history. It was nearly 8 years to the day since Jackie Robinson broke MLB's color barrier. Beyond his historical significance to the team, Howard was an excellent ball player. He didn't have a solidified starting role with the team until his 30s. His first 6 seasons were spent backing up Yogi Berra behind the plate and playing left field and first base. From 1961 through 64, he was the Yankees' full-time starting catcher, and he was one of the best in baseball, winning the AL MVP in 1963. Because of military service and his skin color, Howard didn't begin his MLB career until age 26. He still put together a fantastic big league career, and his significance to the Yankees organization deserves to be acknowledged. Everyone knows about Jackie Robinson's story. The 50-year anniversary of him breaking the color barrier was honored by MLB retiring his number 42 league-wide. Only a handful of players who already wore 42 were grandfathered in and kept wearing it. Players like Mo Vaughn, Jose Lima, and of course, Mariano Rivera. 42 was retired regardless, but had Mariano worn any other number, it would have instantly been removed from circulation the second the greatest closer of all time stepped away from the game. I don't think I even have to get into his accomplishments. Mo is MLB's all-time saves leader, the all-time ERA plus leader, and has the most dominant playoff resume of any player ever. What else needs to be said? This next category of players are beloved Yankees whose jersey retirements are mostly accepted by fans. Most of these guys had borderline Hall of Fame resumes, but aren't in Cooperstown. Because of that, these guys have at least one major argument against their inclusion, but are still renowned Yankees legends. I am a staunch believer that Jorge Posada is deserving of a deeper Hall of Fame look. The switch hitter is one of the best offensive catchers in league history, and even though he was no Yachty behind the plate, he was a well-respected leader and game caller for a decade and a half. Posada's emergence marked the team's first long-term catcher since Thurman Munson's tragic passing. Beginning with Dickey in 1929, the Yankees had a 51-year catching dynasty. From Dickey to Yogi to Howard to Munson, there were only 7 seasons in that half-century where one of those 4 men wasn't the team's primary catcher. 8 different players filled the void over the next 18 years. Posada's reign as the backstop in the Bronx returned a stability at the position that had been lost for years. Even though he's not in the Hall of Fame, his consistency was a massive part of the late 90s dynasty. It may be a coincidence, but the year Posada took over as the starting catcher was the beginning of the Yankees' three-peat. Don Mattingly was the player on the 80s Yankees. He was an MVP, the captain, and an icon in New York.
Mattingly, get rid of those sideburns.
What sideburns?
You heard me, hippie.
Had his back not given out, Mattingly would easily be in the Hall of Fame, but outside of a monster 6-year peak, he didn't really produce more than a few solid seasons. His tenure with the Yankees is also known for its terrible timing, as he was first recalled a year after the Yankees made the World Series, but didn't play for a playoff team until his final season.
This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye, home run.
Yankees fans saw Mattingly as a light during their darkest days, and his legacy to the fans of the 80s is undisputed. Even though he's not in the Hall, and even though he's the only player on this entire list without a ring, he was special to an entire generation of Yankees fans. And at the end of the day, that's what this honor is all about. The only reason I'm held up on Casey Stengel's jersey retirement is the question of whether manager numbers should ever be retired. Joe McCarthy didn't even wear a number on his back, and it's obvious that numbers aren't associated with their managers nearly as much as they are with their players. But if any Yankees manager deserves this honor, it's Stengel. In 12 years managing the Yankees, Stengel won 7 World Series titles and 10 American League pennants. He won the World Series during each of his first 5 seasons with the club. All of his World Series losses were in 7 games, and one of his 2 playoff misses was during his best regular season ever. No manager in MLB history had a tenure like Stengel's with the Yankees. I'm personally leaning towards no manager numbers being retired, but Stengel's legacy is deserving of acknowledgement, so I can't really be mad at this one. Andy Pettitte is the first player I've covered who played prime seasons for a different team since Babe Ruth. Elston Howard closed out his career in Boston, and Yogi played a handful of games while coaching the Mets under Stengel. Pettitte's best season came in 2005 in Houston, but he's still widely known for his 15 years in pinstripes. Not a single pitcher even comes within 50 postseason innings of Pettitte, and all but one of his MLB-leading 19 playoff wins came with the Yankees. Pettitte will probably never make the Baseball Hall of Fame because he admitted to PED use to recover from injury, but I don't think Yankees fans even care about that. He's highly respected as a competitor and a leader. Pettitte retired after 2010, but then came back in 2012 and 2013 and continued to be excellent. He probably had the best pickoff move ever, and he's a member of the core 4 that won 5 World Series titles. Even though he's a step below the all-timers, most Yankees fans should have no issue with this inclusion. Outside of Ford, the greatest Yankees starting pitcher conversation begins with either Pettitte or Ron Guidry. In 1978, Guidry pitched the unquestionable greatest season in Yankees history. 273 innings, a 1.74 ERA, 9 shutouts, an 18 strikeout game,
Holy cow! 18 strikeouts!
and a league-leading ERA+, FIP, WHIP, and Cy Young Award. Even though he never quite replicated his 1978, Louisiana Lightning led the AL in ERA again in 1979. And he finished top 5 in Cy Young voting 3 more times. He had an excellent 10-year peak, but he didn't have the longevity to make the Hall. His contributions to the 70s World Series teams were huge parts of both of those runs, and his numbers across 4 World Series starts are excellent. Like Pettitte, he's not an automatic pick, but the story of Yankees baseball is incomplete without mentioning him, so I have to imagine most fans are happy with it. I'm about to make a lot of Yankees fans mad with this next statement. I think Bernie Williams is slightly overrated. From 1994 to 2002, Bernie was one of the game's better hitters, and he did it as a switch-hitting, Gold Glove center fielder. He was worth 5 more per season during that span. That's flat out fantastic, and he's known by Yankees fans as a clutch playoff performer.
Hung on and driven a deep left. It is high. It is far. And it's gone. Yankees win. Yankees win.
So why do I say he's overrated? Well, for one, his defense was bad for a lot longer than it was good. He probably should have been playing corner outfield as early as his late 20s. He didn't produce any real value after his age 33 season. And outside of owning Seattle, his playoff heroics are pretty limited after his 1996 ALCS MVP. All of that being said, Bernie was still an essential piece of this dynasty. And even though he didn't have the longevity that Jeter, Pennant, or Mariano had, his peak seasons came at the perfect time. He was the bridge player from Mattingly's era to Jeter's, and he might be the player of the 1990s Yankees, if there could only be one. It's an absolutely reasonable selection. We only have 5 more questionable numbers left to cover. If you've made it this far, please subscribe. 90% of you aren't subscribed. It's free, only takes a click, and helps me out a ton. Thanks. Here, we're getting to the number retirements that I'm calling questionable. Guys who traditionalists dispute for one reason or another, or guys who I think got in too easily. Joe Torre is unquestionably one of the most successful managers in league history. He won 4 titles and 6 pennants in 12 seasons with the Yankees. His playoff win percentage is higher than his regular season win percentage, and his teams won over 100 games 4 different times in the regular season. So why is he a tier lower than Stengel when he's still extremely successful? First of all, there is no manager like Stengel. 5 straight World Series titles to begin a tenure is unheard of. Second of all, tactical managers were more impactful on the game in the 50s than they were in the 90s. Managers take the heat from the fans, communicate with the media, and control the clubhouse, but I really don't think their impact on the modern game is that important. Both Torre and Stengel were given championship caliber teams, and both managers won championships. He was great, but I don't think Torre's number 6 was so iconic that it should be removed from circulation. I understand he's a big piece of a dynasty, but really, I don't think Torre was irreplaceable the way the best players from this era were. Roger Maris is the first of 2 players in this tier, and he might be the most contentious player on this whole list. His pursuit of Babe Ruth's home run record ran concurrently with Mickey Mantle's in 1961, but what a lot of people don't realize is that Maris won the league's MVP the previous year as well. Maris was probably the best player in MLB over that 2-year span, and he was certainly the most accomplished, setting the home run record in 1961 with Phil Rizzuto on the call. The single-season home run record is probably the most renowned in all of baseball, but this isn't as easy a pick as you might think. Maris only played for the Yankees for 7 seasons, 3 of which were plagued by injuries. He had 2 incredible seasons, 3 good seasons, and 2 bad seasons. He also didn't do much in his 5 World Series appearances with the Yankees, outside of an important defensive play in 1962. But this number retirement was about more than his record or his time with the team. This retirement was a chance to mend the bridge between the Yankees organization and Roger Maris. When he was pursuing the record, Yankees fans and the media pulled for the Mick. Maris even got some boos from home fans as he began to crack under media pressure late in the season. Team doctors later misdiagnosed his broken hand. Then the Yankees traded him to St. Louis, where he actually had his best World Series performance. After he retired, he boycotted Yankees events for a decade because of his treatment by the team, media, and fans. Maris returned to Yankee Stadium for Old Timers Day in 1978, and his number was retired in 1984, the year after Greg Nettles was traded by the Yankees. Nettles might even be the better number 9 overall. The significance of Maris's record, paired with Steinbrenner's chance to make amends and throw one final shot at Nettles, is why he was picked. I personally am fine with 9 being retired, but I do think Nettles should be recognized as much as Maris. Neither was a lifetime Yankee, neither is a Hall of Famer, but both men represent incredibly important parts of Yankees history, and both were fantastic players. Reggie Jackson is an Inner Circle Hall of Famer, an MVP, a 5-time World Series champ, a 2-time World Series MVP, and a 14-time All-Star. His resume is closer to DiMaggio and Mantle's than it is to the lower players on this list. The problem is that his MVP, 3 of those World Series, 1 of those World Series MVPs, and 9 of those All-Star games came with different teams. He's obviously an athletic first, but Reggie Jackson actually played more games as a member of the Angels than he did as a Yankee. That's not to say that Reggie wasn't an incredible Yankee and one of the biggest stars on the planet while in pinstripes, because he was. Reggie Jackson got his number retired largely on the back of one series. Throughout this whole video, I've gushed over the importance of the 1977 Yankees. That summer, New York City was facing a serial killer, economic downturn, and blackouts as a result of a thunderstorm, which led to mass looting and arson. The Yankees were coming off a World Series sweep at the hands of the Reds, and the once mighty franchise hadn't won a World Series since 1962. New owner George Steinbrenner was growing impatient, so he signed Reggie to the richest contract in Major League history. Story after story caused strife in the clubhouse, and the fandom was largely split on their opinion of Reggie as both a player and a person. Someone should make a miniseries dramatizing this season. Reggie was even benched to start the rubber game of the ALCS versus the Royals, but he got everyone back on his side for good during the World Series. 9 for 20 with 5 homers, including 3 lasers on the last 3 pitches he saw in the series-clinching Game 6. Mr. October was born. Reggie was excellent again in the 1978 postseason, leading the Yankees to a repeat victory over the Dodgers. Most of the players on this list are either Yankees for life or played their peak seasons with the Yankees. Reggie Jackson only played 4 very good seasons and 2 very good postseasons in New York, so I understand anyone who thinks he doesn't quite fit the standards for a number retirement. But without him, it's impossible to imagine the Yankees winning it all in 1977. He also chose to enter the Hall of Fame with the Yankees cap on his plaque. For me, that's enough for his legacy to be honored forever. There are only 2 players left, and I think both of these selections were made largely due to organizational politics over actual real accomplishments. First, we have number 1. Billy Martin's number is retired for one reason and one reason alone. George Steinbrenner felt bad for bullying him for all those years.
I'm handling the trades.
That isn't the way we say it, George.
I have the right to call you in the dugout.
That's not the way it's going to be, George.
You're damn right it is, and if you don't like it, you're fired.
You haven't hired me yet.
Martin had 5 different tenures as Yankees manager, and Steinbrenner probably fired and unfired him privately another half dozen times. You already know my feelings about retiring manager numbers, and Billy Martin is nowhere near as accomplished as the other managers on this list. Across 5 stints and 8 partial seasons, Martin only made the playoffs twice, winning just 1 World Series title on the back of Mr. October. He resigned midway through 1978, and the Yankees proceeded to close a 14-game gap in the division and win another World Series under Bob Lemon. Lemon managed the Yankees to 2 pennants and 1 World Series victory, and that was just in 2 stints spanning 4 seasons. Where's his plaque? George felt bad for tormenting Martin, who he definitely liked a lot on some level, so he retired the number as a show of good faith. But if you ask me, Martin is probably the least deserving retiree in all of Monument Park. It would be like retiring Joe Girardi's number. He was an iconic character and a big part of some of these fantastic teams, but his resume of accomplishments is obscenely short compared to the others beyond the center field wall. And finally, we get to the most recent retired number, number 21, Paul O'Neill. I don't want to diminish how good of a player the Warrior was, but Brett Gardner is probably 5 times more deserving of having his number retired than Paul. O'Neill played his best seasons in New York, thanks to his swing being tailored for the short porch. Outside of 1994, he never sniffed an MVP award, and he was ultimately a role player during the dynasty. The 1970s equivalent would be like retiring Chris Chambliss's number 10. O'Neill's overall body of work is similar to that of Maris or Jackson's, but he never had an iconic series where he carried the team or broke an iconic record. He earned the love and respect of Yankees fans because of consistently above average play for nearly a decade. And if that's the only qualification justification, then the Yankees should honor Nettles, Willie Randolph, Roy White, Gardner, Dave Righetti, CC Sabathia, Gil McDougald, Mel Stottlemyre, Bobby Mercer, Dave Winfield, Robinson Cano, and Alex Rodriguez. O'Neill's jersey retirement is probably a sign of good faith since he's been a broadcaster for the team for years. Plus, the only time 21 has been assigned since he retired, fans almost tore LaTroy Hawkins' head off. I understand why it was done, but I simply don't agree with it. And again, this isn't a shot at Paul's legacy or anything. I just think the line needs to be drawn somewhere. So many great players have donned the pinstripes. If every single one had their number retired, we'd be in the triple digits already. Speaking of which, let's talk about the future of jersey retirements in the Bronx. A-Rod's number 13 would have been retired years ago had he not sued the organization during his 2013 meltdown. I doubt he ever has a chance now.
Hey Rod, when are we getting your number here? Poppy, you have a better chance of getting your number retired than I do.
Robinson Cano probably would have had his 24 retired had he re-signed with the club. If it's any consolation, he'll probably have his number retired in the Mexican League after the year he's having right now. Brett Gardner's number was given to a potential long-term shortstop in Anthony Volpe right away, so I don't think the team has any urgent plans to honor him. CC Sabathia was a great leader and excellent player in the Bronx, so if he makes the Hall, it's possible, but I think this group of players only having one ring limits their chances greatly. Garrett Cole may be the last Yankee to wear 45 if he finishes off his contract strong, but only if the Yankees win at least one World Series in that time. If Juan Soto stays in New York, he could be the last Yankee to wear 22, but as of right now, the only number that is guaranteed to leave circulation when his wearer retires is number 99.
Driven deep to center field. There it goes. See ya. A long home run for Aaron Judge.
I tend to avoid Yankees topics because I don't want to be pigeonholed as a Yankees YouTuber, but this video was a ton of fun to make. Everyone's going to have their own opinions about this, so feel free to leave your comments down below and tell me how badly I messed up. And big thanks to my channel members for supporting me. If you want to become a member and see your name here, hit that join button below for $4 a month and early access to all of my videos. Thanks for watching.